Hello, thanks for coming. Sorry you don't
Thank
feel
you for your
well.
patience.
Thank you. Okay, so
All right, can you hear me?
yeah.
All right, welcome, welcome. You want to start recording? Okay. Welcome our guests, our speaker, Mr. Mickey, and all of our staff. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I want to make sure. Can you get someone to lead us in the pledges or leaving?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
America,
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic
for
for
which it
which it
stands,
stands,
one nation under God,
under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible, with
liberty and
liberty and
justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Thank you very much for that. Can you get someone to read our invocation?
As we gather here today as members of Rotary, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world.
Thank you very much for that. Can you get someone to do our vision statement?
Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So, in this month of December, we're doing disease prevention and treatment. So, before we start on this, we had a Thanksgiving that passed, and we missed that meeting. So, would anyone like to share the Thanksgiving celebration?
Well, one of the things, birthday celebration, what did you say? I missed out on it.
For Thanksgiving, do you want to
Oh,
share anything that happened during Thanksgiving?
well, we went to my next door neighbors and she had like two turkeys and a bunch of stuff, and I posted it. And one of the past district governors from England posted, said, "Did you feed 5,000 people?" And I said, "Only nine, but I think for 3 days we ate it, and I still have enough for another week or two." So anyway, but it was a good day.
Anyone else want to share? All right, well, I will share. So during our break that we did, we spent time with family, and we went to different parts of our families. Like my in-laws had breakfast at Cracker Barrel that morning, and just relax the rest of the day, watch some good football.
That's
Oh,
nice.
football, definitely.
Oh yes, that happened to the Cowboys didn't ruin it. So,
Yeah, yeah, right. And the other
but
thing I just say about this disease prevention and treatment for international, well, we'll be going down to the valley and on the 27th of December, and I've raised enough money, I think, to feed 28 to 32 families for a month to 6 weeks. And we work with the Texas Health Department on a binational project with tuberculosis patients that are multi-drug resistant between Matamoros and Reynosa. And so the Brownsville Sunrise Rotary Club, we give them the money. They meet the nurses in Mexico and buy the food and everything at the Walmart in Matamoros. So that's one of our international projects.
hey, it's amazing. Hopefully, everybody had an opportunity to pitch in to donate what they could. And if not, this is a great opportunity to do so.
Yeah, we're still accepting money.
All right, all right.
I've
Let's
got
go
one
to
club
this.
in Austin donating 250, another club, Suicide Prevention, is donating 100.
That's
And
great.
so I'm working on everybody.
All right, so this weekend, I participated in Live to Lead, and it's an initiative by Dr. Sharon, we see here on the top left. She does this every year, and this is her third year doing it. And me and a couple of folks participated from the district. I don't know if you can see here, but we have, a couple people you may notice, and the students that we work with are teenagers that's either graduating or are sophomore going into the next grade. So it was a good opportunity to mentor, the youth and give them inspiration to continue to go on and on. All right. So birthdays, do we have any birthdays for November that we missed?
Oh, happy birthday, Chris. When is your birthday?
My birthday is on the 20th of this month.
Oh, happy birthday.
Birthday.
Yeah,
Yes,
happy
yes.
birthday.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I think Tushar is in India right now.
Yes.
Okay. Happy birthday to Tusha. All right, so we're going to the next one. Do we have any Rotary anniversaries? I didn't see any, but do anyone have an anniversary this month for being in Rotary? All right, there's no takers. Let's keep pushing. So, is there any other announcements?
Yes, I have one.
Go
So
right ahead.
Envision Dallas is going to do a Blake Lindsay hall dedication on January 22nd from 4 to 6 p.m.
Oh, that's great. That's so nice.
January 22nd.
January 22nd from 4 to 6 p.m.
Okay.
It's just a dedication, and the artist, Joe Samantero, who's almost blind, did a beautiful portrait of Blake that he will unveil and show at that dedication. So,
Ooh. We won't be in town, so we'll be in Florida. So I'll miss
okay.
that. But
Well, my in-laws, some of them will be here because
yeah, I hope they record it.
I will ask Larissa to have someone there record it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, but yeah, we'll definitely try to see if someone can be available for that.
And somebody from our club needs to go out there.
Mm.
I'll be there for sure, but
Yeah.
anyone else who wants to come and can come because it is during a work
Visit
day, but
one of the buildings or rooms for like.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Anyone else have any announcements? All right, we're gonna keep going. Mr. Howard, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm going to introduce Nikki. Nikki is our speaker. He's in Canada, and his topic is on thought, leadership, and personal branding. Nikki, you could speak for 20 to 30 minutes. You're welcome to use PowerPoint if you want, and I recommend everyone mute themselves so we don't get background noise like we're getting now.
Okay, great. Um, so thanks for having me. Great to be here with you folks. Would you mind muting yourselves, guys? Seems to be hearing some
You
background
need to
noise.
put your mute on. Somebody's got noise coming out and it's not muted.
Yeah.
Please mute everyone.
Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. Thanks for having me here. Let me tell you a little bit about my backstory. So my name is Nikki Ballou. I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran, and there were literal gun battles going on in the streets near my home. Now, my mom and dad were freaking out. Maybe you can relate how you would feel if your kids were potentially in danger. And that freak out factor went up 1,000-fold when one day an object smashed through our living room window. Glass was sent flying everywhere. And it landed and rolled right next to my feet. Now I'm 11 years old. I don't know what it is, but it seemed to be some sort of glass bottle with liquid in it. And there was a burning rag in the top. It was a Molotov cocktail. Now, my dad, he instantly knew what it was. So he picked it up and he pulled out the rag, and it didn't explode. That's why I'm still here talking to you now. And after that, my mom and dad said, this is not going to be a place to raise a Christian family. We got to hightail it out of here. It took them a couple of years, but they got us out of Tehran and they moved us to Europe. And we were in Athens, Greece for 2 years as a way station until Canada accepted us as landed immigrants, the equivalent of a green card in the United States. And that was 2 more years. And that's where I now live. Now, at the time, I'm a kid, right? I don't want to leave my home. I don't want to leave my friends. But as time went on, I started to see the nobility of my mom and dad's sacrifice. They left behind everything and everyone they knew for a chance at a better life for me and my two brothers. They took us from a legacy of tyranny to a legacy of freedom. And I could see how awesome that gift of freedom was. Western civilization has brought human freedom as its gift to the world. Really, it's a gift from God Almighty to all of us. You know, I believe inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Every man, every woman on this planet yearns to breathe free, to chart their own course, to march to the tune of their own drummer. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you need freedom. Without freedom, you don't have free thought. Without free thought, you don't have free expression. Without free expression, there's no free enterprise. Without free enterprise, you got to rely on a tyrant's favor and not on God-given freedoms to make your business dreams come alive and to serve the people you seek to serve. And so, I started to see this and I thought, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to help other people. And I had my dad. My dad is the greatest man I've ever known. He was an entrepreneur. He was the kind of man, if you knew him and you were looking for work, he would clear his schedule. He'd sit you down in his office. He'd call all his buddies who owned companies. He'd call all his buddies in government until one of them gave you a job. If you were trying to start a business, he'd clear his calendar. He'd sit you down in his office. He'd listen to you. He'd give you advice. He'd connect you with sources of capital. He'd connect you with potential clients. If he knew you and you were trying to buy a car or a home, and Iran was a second world country back in the 70s, and he would sit down with you and you'd say, "Hey, Mr. Blue, I need $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 to buy that car, that house." He'd say, "Okay," he'd write you a check. And then when you came back in a year, 2 years, 3 years to pay him back, he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm paying you back." He said, "Don't insult me." He said, "Come on, I was a loan. It's too much money." He says, "No, no, no, don't insult me." So what do I do with all this money? And he'd say to you, "Go find someone who was as badly off financially as you were when you came to see me and give it to them." And people every day would tell me, "Nikki, man, come on. This sounds like a fairy tale. It's too good to be true. Nobody's really like that, right?" And I said, "No, man, my dad was really like that." They say, "What's in it for him? Why would he do that?" And I go, "Wow, that's a pretty cynical thing to say." I'd say, first and foremost, he was a devout and committed Christian. He didn't take himself very seriously, but he took his faith very seriously. He believed he'd been blessed by his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and it was his duty to share those blessings with his fellow brothers and sisters. And the second reason he did it is because he could. He was successful. He was rich. And I wanted to be like him. I wanted people to come to me and admire me and ask me for help. So I got into the business of helping entrepreneurs because I wanted to honor my father, who was a man who loved people and poured into people and believed in people. Because life is about people, he used to say to me. It's not about money. It's not about business. It's about people. He'd even say business isn't even about money. It's about people. And I said, "Hold up, Dad, but don't you need money to do business?" He goes, "Sure, son. But the only reason you need money is because business is about helping people. You help people solve problems for a profit." Imagine a Venn diagram. People, problems, profit. That's the purpose of business. So I got into business of helping entrepreneurs because I wanted to be like my dad and I wanted to help people like my dad. And I started to see there was a lot of good men and women out there doing business, helping people who just didn't stand out. They just didn't know how to stand out. I had a friend who I helped stand out and do well. He had a photography business. He introduced a young man to me. His name was Dan. Dan was a fitness coach, had his own fitness coaching business. But it wasn't going so hot. He had 7 clients. He made about $1,200 a month, and he lived in my hometown of Toronto. Now, Toronto, It's Canada's largest city. It's like the New York City of Canada. If you can just imagine, it's just about as expensive as New York City. So $1,200 a month ain't cutting it in Toronto to live. Let me tell you that right now. So I asked Dan, I said, what do you do? He's all, I'm a fitness coach. I said, well, who do you help? He said, well, I can help anybody with any health and fitness problem. I can help them lose weight. I can help them put on muscle. I can help them get ready for a wedding or whatever. And I said, that's your first mistake. You're trying to be all things to all people. He said, okay, so what do I need to do? I said, well, you got to narrow your focus. Who do you want to help? He said, doctors. I said, why doctors? He said, well, my dad's a doctor and I love my dad. I said, all right. He said, also, doctors make a lot of money, don't they? I want to make some money from working with doctors. And I said, Dan, that can't be your main reason for working with somebody, that they make a lot of money. He said, no, I'm going to do it. So he went out and he did it. A couple of months, he got maybe 1, 2 clients. And I went to him, I said, Danny, this ain't working so good for you. We need to change this. He says, okay. I got to narrow my focus more, right? Okay, cardiologist. I go, what do you mean cardiologist? He says, well, they make more money than doctors. I go, Danny, that was a mistake you made before. No, I'm doing it. He got no cardiologist clients. But the good Lord had other plans. He sent him a Paralympian athlete. He sent him an African-Cuban man named Papito Wilson. And good old Papito Wilson, man, this dude, he was serious. So him and Dan worked together. Dan helped him win some medals, even gold medals at major international competitions, the Paralympic athlete. See, he lost his leg in a childhood accident in Cuba. So Dan calls me up, says, we need to meet. He says, I owe you an apology. I said, what for? He said, you've been telling me not to go after the money. You've been telling me to go out and help people. And I wasn't listening, but I'm ready to listen now. He said, you know what, Nikki, I want to help people with missing limbs because I know how to help them get fit. I instantly knew this was a God-ordained mission for him. I said, this is a great idea. Go do it. So guys, Dan had 7 clients, if you recall. He was making $1,200 a month. In the next 6 weeks, with no social media, with no advertising, he signed up 400 clients in 6 weeks. 400 clients. 6 weeks. He went from making $1,200 a month to making over $100,000 a month. How? He built himself a powerful personal brand. It had nothing to do with how much money he made. It had something to do with a niche or a niche that nobody else was going after, which was people with missing limbs. Most physical coaches would say, they can't work out, so I'm not going to bother. But Dan knew better. Dan knew better. These were men and women, put yourself in their shoes, that probably were not thrilled to have a missing limb. Would you probably agree with me if when I tell you that nobody wants to have a missing limb? They maybe were a little resentful that they had a missing limb. They wish they had all their limbs. Probably agree with that too. Dan's message to them was a lot more than we're going to work out. His message to them was, I see you. I know you. You are a child of God. You can do anything anybody else can do, and I'm going to show you and help you do it. That's why word of mouth got him 400 clients in 6 weeks. That's the power of a personal brand, of being known for something above anybody else. You know, I talk about thought leadership. What is commercial thought leadership? Commercial thought leadership is when you're known for something that nobody else is known for. An expert, someone who knows something. Experts are a dime a dozen. But a thought leader is someone who's known for knowing something. So that's the story of Dan. Now, let me tell you another story. I had a client. He actually lived in Manhattan. He was in New York City. And this fellow owned a acupuncture clinic, Chinese acupuncture. And he was a very interesting fellow. He was very successful. He made about $150,000 a year. But in Manhattan, that's not a lot of money. All the money that came in just went out just as fast. And I said, man, you got a powerful brand. Everybody knows you. So, why do you need me? He said, I want to make 10 times as much money as I'm making now, Nikki. Do you think you can help me? I said, I think so. Let's do a review of your business. So we did a review of his business, man. He had a good message. He had a good target market, which tended to be very famous celebrities in New York. And clientele was amazing, good cash flow. He only had one problem. He undercharged. He didn't believe it was worth more. He was afraid if he raised his prices, people would not want to pay. And I told him, you're not charging enough. Thought leaders charge what they're worth. I said to him, his name was Chris, Chris, if you don't get what you should get, you won't give what you should give, because business is energy exchange. Money is energy, and the love and service you put out there is energy. So for you to give what you ought to give, you ought to charge what you ought to charge. And he said, well, how much more should I charge? 10%. I went, no, man, are you kidding me? 20%? No, 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 not 30. I said, no, man, 20-fold. He started to hyperventilate. What are you talking about? I can't do that. No one's going to pay. Are you kidding me? I said, relax, buddy. Calm down. You need to charge what I tell you to. I couldn't get him to charge 20 times more, but he charged 7 times more. Guys, in 4 months, he made 1.2 million additional dollars. His business exploded. His rich celebrity clients came to him. I couldn't bring anybody here as much as I loved you because you didn't charge enough. They wouldn't take me seriously. Now that you're charging properly, I can bring all my friends. So he made $1.2 million by learning to value himself. Because people don't charge what they're worth for only 2 reasons. They don't believe they're worth it. So we got to help them with that. Or they do believe they're worth it, but they don't think anybody will pay. So their mindset's wrong. And thought leaders understand and own their value based on the lifetime value of the solution that they offer to people. That's the story of Chris. Okay. So I'm going to tell you one more story that I think you're going to love. There was a woman who I worked with. She was a functional medicine doctor. And she too was successful. She made about 150, 170,000 a year. But she was going through a personal tragedy. Her father, who was her hero, was dying of brain cancer, glioblastoma. And she wanted to honor him and his legacy. And he passed away during the time we were working with her. She wanted to honor him. And the way that she wanted to honor him was she wanted to become a very successful entrepreneur, much more successful than she was. And I went to her and I said, who do you help? She said, well, I really can help anybody with any health problem. I said, yeah, that's not going to fly. She says, well, what do you suggest? I said, you have had clients. She said, yeah. So I showed her a framework. So guys, this is the framework. It's called the ideal client model, which I created. I said, who are the clients you've gotten the best results for? Make a list of those. Who are the clients you've enjoyed working with the most? Make a list of those. Who are the clients who are easiest to do business with? Make a list of those. Now tell me who was on all 3 lists. That's your ideal client. It turned out that it was women over the age of 45, married, successfully, happily, with children, with high-powered jobs or own their own businesses. Now, you would think that these ladies would be loving life because everything was going great. You would think that, but you'd be wrong. There was one thing that was bothering these ladies. They were all over the age of 45, and they felt that time and beauty had passed them by. Now, I'm a man. I don't understand women as well as women do, but I've heard, ladies, that women like feeling beautiful. Is this true? Because I've heard it's true. Right. So I said to her, so what did you do for these ladies? She says, well, you said, getting older is inevitable. The calendar is going to march on, but aging is not. You can actually physiologically get younger. She said, you can look and feel just as good as you did in your 20s, 30s, when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s and 80s. I said, really? I said, you can deliver on this? She said, oh, yeah. So I helped her come up with a good name for her program. Get your sexy back. Man, she loved it. The ladies loved it. In her first year, she doubled her income. In her second year, she doubled it again. In her third year, she doubled it again. She went up tenfold in 3 years. And let me tell you something. She went from 150, 170,000 a year to over 100,000 a month. Simply by learning what she already knew and putting it out there in a powerful fashion. Now, thought leadership is this. Now, people say to me, Nikki, so what's it take to be successful? Here's what I have to say it takes to be successful, guys. You have to have 4 qualities that you embrace. The first is you got to be decisive. You can't be a tire kicker. You got to be a car buyer. You know what I'm saying? Successful people are decisive people. Secondly, you got to be committed. If you take on something new, if you say, I want to build a personal brand, I want to be a thought leader, well, at first you're going to suck at it. Suck is a technical business term, right? At first you are, but after a while you won't suck anymore. You'll just be average. After a while you won't be average anymore. You'll be good. After a while you won't be good anymore. You'll be great. But it takes commitment to the process. Successful people understand that at first they're not going to be that great, but they will become great through commitment to the process. Thirdly, you got to be coachable. You got to believe in investing in yourself. Now, I used to coach the great Robin Sharma, the author of the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, that sold 15 million copies globally. And I used to be his fitness coach 15, 17 years ago. And I said to him, Robin, how do I double my income this year? He said, that's easy. Simple, at least. You got to triple your investment in your own personal professional development. How much money did you spend on coaches, conferences, programs last year? I said 5,000. It was a long time ago. He said, great. This year you got to spend 15. I go, wow, that's a lot of money. He said, yeah, but then you'll double your income. Do the math. I did. And I go, all right, I'll do it. So I tripled my investment in my own personal professional development, and I almost tripled my income. He was right. And you got to be coachable. You got to believe in investing in yourself. You are the number one asset in your business. If you don't invest in yourself, you will not get better. You will not grow. And as the great Jim Rohn said, don't wish things were easier, wish you were better. And don't wish you were better, become better. Become better. And then finally, you got to be resourceful. You got to be resourceful. What does it mean to be resourceful? Well, very simple. You got to come up with the time, the energy, and the money to become better. Because it won't happen by itself. Let me tell you a final personal story for me. Over a decade and a half ago, my then wife, seemingly out of the blue, decided she didn't want to be married to me anymore. Maybe I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. She kicked me out of the house and I spiraled. Stopped making money for a year. I made no money. I slept on my mother's couch. I couldn't see my kids. A friend of mine took pity on me, bought me a ticket to a business conference. I put on my suit, broke as hell, but I looked good. And I went to the conference. The man speaking in front of the room spoke to my soul. You ever been in a room where someone spoke to your soul? You know what I'm talking about? So when he was done, I elbowed everybody out of the way and I went to the head of the line and I introduced myself. I told him my story and I said, I think I need to hire you. Well, he could tell I wasn't doing well. He said, okay, all right, son. But my minimum fee is $5,000 for 5 hours of my time. I take payment upfront, in full, in advance. There are no guarantees, no refunds. You still want to hire me, son? I said, all right. I don't have that kind of money. He said, all right, I'll give you some free coaching. I said, okay, free coaching. I can deal with that. He said, it doesn't matter how much money you have. I said, hold up. Didn't you just say I have to pay $5,000? Of course it matters how much money you have. I said, son, I got 20 people lining up behind you, ready to work with me. I don't need your money. You need me. He was right. So I let him continue. He said, it doesn't matter how much money you have. What matters is how bad do you want change? Your wife kicked you out of the house. You haven't seen your kids in weeks, and you haven't made any money. How much longer do you want to put up with this sad, sorry state of affairs? A day? A week? A month? A year? A lifetime? I'm like, whoa, no. Give me 2 days. I booked an appointment to see him in his office in 2 short days. And I got on the phone with a lot of urgency. And I called people and I would tell them, I got bad news and I got good news. They said, what's the bad news? I said, you're fat. You need to lose weight or you're going to have a heart attack or a stroke. I'm broke and I need money so I can see my kids. So I'm going to give you the deal of a lifetime, half price. But here's the catch. You got to say yes or no right now. And if it's yes, you got to pay me in full right now. What's it going to be? I got 2 guys to say yes. They gave me $1,000 each. That was the first money I'd made in a year. I was floating. Went to this fella's office, dropped $2,000 on the desk, and I said, here you go. He said, that's very nice, son. But I said 5, not 2. I was deflated. I'm like, oh, man. I said to him, Bill, his name was Bill. Bill, how many people have you told this story to over the years? He said, over the years, maybe 30, 40 times. I said, all right. Besides me, who came back with any money? He said, oh, well, you're the first. I go, I'm the first. He said, yeah, you're the first. I go, I'm the first. Yes, sir. And I said, then listen, take my 2 grand. I'm going to sign a contract with you where I'm going to pay you in 30, 60 days, whatever the case may be. Because me, I want change bad. He agreed, and the rest is history. I made 6 figures in the next 6 months, and I paid him back early because I want to change bad. You're asking about thought leadership and personal branding. Thought leadership, a thought leader is different from an expert. An expert's like a cover band. A thought leader plays original music. You want to be a thought leader, you've got to find out what your point of differentiation is, and you've got to put it out there in the form of a powerful message. You got to own what you're worth, and you got to charge it, and you got to be clear on who's your ideal client and how you help them solve a big honking problem. You need help with that, reach out to me. Best way to reach out to me is there's a link to get on my calendar. It's ecircleacademy.com/appointment. That's the letter E, the word circleacademy.com/appointment. Be happy to answer any of your questions. Be happy to help you think through if thought leadership makes sense for you and your business. Any questions?
I noticed that you have your hand raised. Did somebody raise your hand on the notifications?
No.
Do you see that
The
yellow
AI
hand?
platform, when you put your hand up, immediately thinks you're raising your hand. So
Oh,
I talk with
okay.
my hands.
Okay.
Nothing I can do about that.
Okay. Very good. I really enjoyed that. I'm retired now. I did a lot of things when I was working. So anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I love Toronto. I love
Very
Canada.
much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
No, everybody should be good. If anybody else have any comments, concerns. Hey, that was beautiful, man. I appreciate you coming out and speaking to us. And there's a lot of good information that's passed in this. And as a business owner myself, I took a lot in what you stated, and I'll be using a lot of this in my own business. So appreciate it.
Have a
Anybody
great
else?
evening, folks. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas
Right.
Eve.
All right, so let me bring these back up. And share. All right, we all see the screen. All right, let's go to the next one. It's gonna share. Wait.
Anytime you want to join us, you can, Nikki.
Yeah, I think he left.
Oh. Oh, David wants to say something.
Oh, go right ahead.
Go ahead. Loud.
It may not be related, but I've got a button that says, don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid to not try.
Hey, that's definitely true. Yes, indeed. All right, so we're going to end with our four-way test. But before we start, do we have any more comments, concerns, any events
See you
coming up?
next year.
So we're going to put off the December meeting. I mean, not the December meeting, but the 23rd meeting. Or we're going to still do the 23rd meeting. You muted, Jericho, you muted.
Do I want to have a December 23rd meeting?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, no, let's cancel the
No.
23rd.
Okay.
you
Yeah.
are keeping the 23rd?
Because a
Yeah.
lot of people. Oh yeah, because I may be out of town.
Yeah, we'll be out of town, I think.
Yeah.
Not a problem, not a problem. So we'll definitely be there. And we'll be out on that one.
Okay, I think Howard doesn't have a speaker now for the 23rd since we were going to cancel.
No.
Perfect.
All right, okay. Huh. So we're going to do the four-way test. Join me in stating the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to
Is it
all
fair to all
concerned?
concerned?
Will it
Will
build
it build
goodwill
goodwill and
or
better
better friendships?
friendships?
Will it be
Will
beneficial
it
to
be
all
beneficial
concerned?
to all concerned?
And will it
And
be
will
fun?
it be fun?
All right.
Thank
I
you so
appreciate everyone
much.
coming out. Yeah, have a good night, and I will see you next year.
Good
Happy
night.
holidays.
Okay, have a
Bye-bye.
good
Merry
night.
Christmas.